and get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Deanna Henry. I'm Director of Operations for the Atwood team in Baltimore, but I'm pretty sure all of you guys know that. So today we're going to be talking about managing P&L, learning how to do your budget model, econ model, things like that. So obviously I've got a lot of stuff in your packet. The expectation is not to have everything completed today, but so that you have enough information to be dangerous to know how to get them completed, right? This is where we're going to start. Woo-hoo. Really quick, what we're going to review is the self-evaluation, which will be page 1. As Gary Keller says in Shift, we're going to get real and get right. We're going to pick your profit number and understand what your big why is behind that. So often people are like, I want to make $100,000, right? That's an awesome number. What's important to you about that? How do you know you're going to be okay? Does that actually get you what you need in terms of your expenses, your savings, your vacation, your time off, your emergency funds? We're going to find out, right? Your pro forma in 5 steps, your life by design, your budget model, a sample P&L and balance sheet so you guys can see what it looks like, an economic model, and how to review it on a regular basis so that you know you're actually on track for your goals. So like I said, it's a lot. We're going to do as much as we can. We're going to touch on every piece. So first one is your self-evaluation. That's going to be the very first page. Looks like this on the back of the cover sheet in your packet. I want you guys to be totally honest with yourselves. It's up to you if you want to share this with anybody. You don't have to. It's totally up to you. But be honest with yourself. Figure out, where are my opportunities? What am I really good at? What do I think I need some time to work on? The market has obviously shifted. I think all of us have seen that, right? Real estate's changed. The economy has changed. The world has changed. So that means instead of us sitting around going, when's it going to get back to normal? We're just going to shift too, right? We're going to shift with it. So remember that your problems are not your problems at all, but they are your opportunities. What does that mean? What do you guys think of when you hear that? Open question, not rhetorical. Your problems are your opportunities. What comes up for you? Anybody? Anybody?
How to fix your problems.
There you go. Okay, how to fix your problems.
Find a solution.
Love it.
Yeah, well, what am I supposed what did I do right?
There you go. I love it. It's great. All excellent. So every time you guys see a problem, what you ask yourself those questions, right? What am I learning from this? How do I fix it? What's my opportunity here, right? Where do I go? You can't control the market, but you can control your outlook on the market. Remember what Warren Buffett says, be a low tider. Is anyone familiar with that quote? It's very funny. He goes, when the tide goes out, you see who's actually swimming with or without their bathing suit on. Make sure you've got your butt covered, okay? Be a low tider. You ready for those ones?
There's another one, like when the people are greedy, be fearful, and when people are fearful, be greedy.
Oh, I've never heard that one before. I like that one too. He's such a wise man, isn't he, that Warren Buffett? So once you've gotten real, right? This is our page of getting real. We're going to get right. So what must be done right versus what must be done now? Those are two very different things, right? We've got to make sure that through our day-to-day processes, we're thinking about both of those things. So what do I have to do right? Is it a system? Is it a process? Is it the way I'm time blocking my day? And what do I have to do now? Is something truly on fire to where everything else that I structured for my day have to get set aside so that this can be my primary focus? Always be conscious of that. And remember, we succeed in good times, not because of what we do right, but in spite of what we do wrong. All from the Shift Tactic 1 in the Shift book by Gary Keller himself. So pick your profit. You can write this anywhere. If you want to write it on the top of your life by design form, you can. How much do you need? How do you know you need it? Right? Why do you need it? How would your life change when you had it? And how do you find out? Right? Because again, a lot of us, we have this number in our heads and we're like, oh yeah, that would be awesome. What would make that awesome? Well, I would know that all of my monthly expenses are paid for and I'm cool. Awesome. What else makes it awesome? I know I could save at least $1,000 a month, and that would get me in 12 months to having my 6-month reserves. Awesome. What else would it do for you? I'd be able to set aside money for my kids to go to college. Awesome. What else would it do for you? I could finally take that amazing trip to Tahiti I've always wanted to go to. Awesome. What else? Keep going, keep going, keep going. What would it do for you? Know the number, right? Get really, really clear on it. And this is just kind of like an overview. So really fast, there's 5 steps to completing a pro forma for your business, right? 1, know your big why, have your purpose, which is your profit goal. Number two, have your number in sales. Know your numbers in sales to run your business and receive your intended profit, which would be your economic model. Three, where will your business come from? What activities do you need to nail? That's your lead gen model. Four, the cost of running that business, your budget model. And five, who you will need to assist you, otherwise known as the organizational model. So today we're actually going to be going through number one, number two, and number four. So you'll have the first 3 out of 5 steps to having your business pro forma. Oh my God, don't you guys feel like, oh, weight lifted, oh for sure. Fantastic. So the next thing we're going to go to, and anyone stop me if you feel like I'm going too fast. I talk fast, I move fast. Sometimes I don't pay attention or read the room very well. So just be like, Dave, I have a question. And I'll be like, no problem. So our next form is our life by design form, right? It's going to be your second page. Don't necessarily expect to have all of this completed today, but it would be awesome if you guys could get it done before the end of this week, right? It's so important because this form is truly, what do I need? What do I want? How much will that cost? It's going to help us get really super clear on how much we actually need. So in that first section, you've got profit allocations. What does that mean, right? What you're going to put here is what you would actually like to have the fund for by the end of the year. This is the vacation I want. This is the car I want. This is the house I want, right? This is the amount of savings I want, right? So these are like your big dream options. How much would that look like every month and how much would that look like every year? Okay. The next section is your personal expenses. And you can see they've got a couple of examples on the left-hand side here, your house payment, restaurants and food, utilities, pet care, childcare, all the stuff that's you're going to be paying for every month, no matter what, right? We're going to put all that here. And what I would encourage you to do, and this is where the heavy lifting, everyone's like, "D, really, come on." Yes, I mean it. Go through your bank statements and get the exact dollar amounts for the past like 6 to 12 months, right? Get real. This is what get real means. So like, well, my mortgage is like roughly 1,500, 2,500. No, what is it to the penny, right? Find out what it is to the penny and find out how much you spent this past year. Do you want to change it? Did you discover that, oh my God, I spent $15,000 on DoorDash last year. I gotta lower that budget, right? Or you're like, hell yeah, I hate cooking, make it 20 grand for this year. Doesn't matter what the budget is, it's your budget, right? Just make sure you've got clarity on it. So determine that personal budget, input your cost of sale. Now, obviously, this is going to be very pertinent to anyone who's like an entrepreneur or a sales agent, right? If you're a salaried individual, this might not apply to you. So just be mindful, like you might skip over that section. And then you've got business expenses at the bottom. So again, entrepreneurs, agents, anybody like that. Or even if you have regular business expenses, like I know even on my team, even though I'm a salaried individual, I have some things that I choose to pay for because I want that write-off at the end of the year for any 1099 bonuses that I receive or commissions, right? So if you have things like that, put those down there too. Maybe you're tracking your mileage, maybe you have like an MLS subscription that you pay for, right? Just for you, doesn't matter. And then there's also a section, where did it go? Did I skip over it? Oh, it's in the personal expenses. It's this little line, like right above this gray section. That's your tax rate. I am not a CPA. I cannot tell you how much to put there. Talk to your CPA and find out what they recommend, right? Some will say like 20 to 30% might be safe, but it's all up to the individual. So talk to your CPA, talk to your accountant, and find out how much needs to be in that line, right? Once we've had this, your tax rate, you're going to add all of these things up and put them down in the total. Now you'll see here at the bottom, you've got a number of units needed for life by design, number needed for personal expenses, number needed for cost of sale. So you're adding all these up, right? Once you determine the units. And how do we determine the units? Well, let's use a whiteboard. We got one. Why not? Right? Really easy. All you have to do is take your average price point. Let's call it $350, right? Get multiplied by your average commission. Let's say it's 2.75%, right? So like 3% on listing, 2.5% on buyers.
Do you think it's better to do more conservative price?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you make too much money, you can get out of 10, right? So let's do 2.5. that's gonna give you your average commission rate, right? What is that, 1750? Somebody check that out. What is this? 7,500 gonna be 7,500? Roughly? No?
It's 87.75.
8750? So 8750, right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that whole amount that you created through that Life by Design form, right? And let's say it comes out to, okay, I'm gonna need $500,000 to have my Life by Design. Okay, then you're just gonna divide that number by the 8750, right? What does that come out to, math people? Who have calculators?
I was gonna say calculator.
Calculator people?
57.
And that is if we get 100% of the commission.
Yeah, so if you are an agent on a team, on a split, right, find out what your split is off this average commission, so maybe it's the 8750 times the 50%. Right, and then you get that number, and you do the same thing, you would just plug it in here. That makes sense to everybody? That's how you're gonna get your unit count at the bottom of that page. Mathematics. All right, did anyone have any questions? I know we went through that really fast on the Life by Design form before we move on to the next one. No? Cool. The budget model. We love the budget model, right? So let's skip over to page 8 in our packet. And of course, they're not actually numbered. So sorry about that, guys. We're jumping around a little bit. This is what it looks like. It's also page 193 of the MREA book. So if you guys have an MREA book, you have a copy of this, right? The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Yeah. The red book, it's got like 8 different names. The Real Estate Bible, whatever you want to call it. So what this is showing you, and I always like to point this out, right? Because they have all these different net numbers or GCI numbers at the top, and then all these breakdowns here. On the left side of this red line is the national average for the industry, not best practices. Okay, on the right-hand side is best practices. And you might ask yourself, okay, well, why didn't they just do that for the whole chart, right? Well, they want you to see what the differentials are, and what Gary always says, right, is if you want to be a millionaire producer, you have to act like one. Right? That's why he always starts at $1 million. He's like, whether you're making 150 or 340 or 640, it doesn't matter. Use these percentages and it'll lead you down the path of becoming that millionaire producer, right? And the reason he has 2.5 million is because that's when you would net $1 million. So first you make $1 million, then you net $1 million, roughly speaking. So you want to make sure that your cost of sale is 30%, your expenses are 30%. We call that the 30-30-40 rule, right? 30% cost of sale, 30% expenses, 40% profit. Within those expenses, they have a breakdown underneath, right, of what everything should look like. So you've got compensation, like salaries and professional services, lead generation. That also includes listing management, so signposting, photography, all that stuff. Occupancy, if you pay rent or desk fees, education and coaching, any classes you might take, if you have a coach that you pay monthly for, supplies and office expenses. I'll be honest with you, we don't buy a lot of them on our team because everything's so digital that's like, you just don't have the same costs you may have, you know, even a few years ago. Communication and technology, are you paying for your cell phone bill or writing off a portion of it? Your automobile, there's an asterisk by automobile, right? Again, this is going to be a question for your CPA, but there are very specific rules when it comes to being able to include your automobile in your expenses, right? Sometimes they vary state to state, so talk to your accountant about that. Equipments and furnishings and insurance, all that totals up to about 30%. So, go ahead.
Was that in what you just showed, is that in here or was that?
Oh, nope, that's just on the slide, but I can share the slides with everybody too at the end of this if you guys want that. Absolutely. So now we're going to go to page 9. We're going to look at what a P&L template might look like. Right. And it's gonna show you, and this is like, oh, if only P&Ls in businesses and real estate were actually this pretty. They're not, they're not. But this is just so that you can get a snapshot of what it could look like. If you were to go home and start your own today, this is where you could start and fill in all the numbers underneath all of these categories, right? So you've got your income, your listing income, sales income, commercial, referral, other commissions, yada, yada, yada. You've got your cost of sale. How much are you paying in cap? How much are you paying in royalty? How many just did you pay if you are a team owner to splits, right? For other agents on your team. What other commissions were paid out? Do you have ISAs? Did you pay a referral commission to another agent, right? All of that's going to be cost of sale. And then you've got the expenses, which we already went over. So if you were to go home and be like, I want to start a P&L, this is what it would look like, right? And then you plug in all the numbers underneath. Now, just behind that is an actual example of a P&L. And yes, this one is still prettier than the ones that you see in real life, right? But this will give you an understanding, it's a lot of numbers, on what it looks like. So read these over really fast, right? Can you see over on the right-hand side, we've got our 100%, that's our whole GCI. Now we're adding everything up for our cost of sale. We've got our buyer's agents, 1, 2, and 3. Came out to a nice, clean 29.6%, right? Perfect, as always. And then you see all of the itemizations under your expenses too. So they've got under lead generation, photographer, staging, print ads, signs. They are literally tracking every single dollar spent. And it's to the penny, right? Like I don't see anything on here that's just like a rounded number. Everything's $15,114.72. To the penny, know what you're spending money on, hold it accountable, hold every dollar spent accountable, right? So this slide here, I basically just totaled everything up that's on that sample P&L so that you guys could see what it broke down to. And we're shooting for a 40% profit number. And of course, they're falling behind, but I'm just kidding. That's an excellent number. Excellent number. Does anyone have any questions about the sample P&L? Because I know that we go back and forth, right? Some agents will have things on their P&L because they're like, well, I can write it off as an expense. And while that may be true, talk to your CPA. It doesn't always mean it should be on your P&L, right? We'll go back to automobile, the one that had the asterisk on it, right? Typically, as an agent, you obviously utilize your car for your business purposes, right? So you can write off things like mileage and gas and stuff. But does it belong in your P&L? Only if it is registered under your business name. Why in my business? Okay, talk to your accountant, right? But if you own the Atwood team, unless we have a company car that says the title of registration is under the Atwood team as a business, we can't put that on our P&L. It doesn't belong there. Now, Tom can go back to his accountant come tax season for whatever he wants written off for those expenses, those personal expenses written off. But they can't be on our business report. Does it make sense to everybody? So you're going to see things. There was an agent in California. She had Botox on her P&L because in California, you can write that off. And they were like, that's awesome, but it can't be on your P&L because your business isn't paying for it. Talk to your CPA, right? Whatever works in California works in California. 18,000 years to buy a house over there, but you know, Botox into the P&L, no problem. All right, balance sheet. This is, again, what a very clean, beautiful version of a balance sheet might look like. The balance sheet is meant to tell you where your business is and how much cash flow you have reserved at any given time, right? So it makes it really easy to look at your business and say, okay, even if I don't sell a house next month, I'm good for 3 months. I have the reserves, I can pay my expenses, like I'll be okay, right? Or it's going to tell you, we're going to sell 10 houses if I'm going to be in business next month, right? So it's going to give you a really clear look as to what you need, what you have, and where you have to go. Okay, so I kind of made some breakdowns up here on the slides. You've got your checkings and savings, right? How much money is actually in there? Accounts receivable, it's real estate. So it's like there's not really a what do customers owe us category. I would say just from personal experience, the main thing that might come up for you is, rental commissions. Sometimes you gotta chase those down, unfortunately, right? But for the most part, like, accounts receivable is not really existent. It's like you get your check, you pay your expenses, you keep going, right? But it doesn't hurt to just have a category there in case you are like, oh, I did sell that house like 3 weeks ago, I haven't got my check yet. What's up with that, right? At some point, you do want to be tracking whether or not you got paid on your settlement or not, right? Fixed assets. And your accumulated depreciation of it. So let's say you buy an office building for your team or for your real estate company. Make sure that you're tracking that accumulated depreciation and then liabilities and equity. Okay, so I have a little asterisk down here at the bottom that says owner distribution should always be referred to as an equity item, not an expense item on the P&L. It is what the business owner takes from profit. So what I mean by that is we talk about above the line and below the line items, right? Above the line is your cost of sale, your expenses, the GCI, all that stuff. Below the line, you've got your profit number, right? Everything after all those were deducted. You can still deduct things from that profit number that should not show up above the line. An owner salary is one of them, right? So that doesn't get calculated into your 30% expenses. That's the owner gets paid if this profit number is hit. And then that shows up below the line. So that's an example of a balance sheet. Does anybody have any questions about that? No? How are we looking on time? Am I moving fast? Moving too fast? All right, good. Our economic model. Don't we love it? So this is a sample. This is the sheet that you guys are going to be completing, right? So we got, from our first exercise, we got our unit count, hopefully, right? This is also going to compare that number and make sure it's right. Okay. Because what we're going to do is we're going to put our net income in there. Again, we're always starting with profit. Okay. So if our net income, if we want to net $500,000, what that number is telling us is that's what we have to make, right? If we want to net $500,000, we may actually have to sell more than 57 units, right? Because are we talking about a number of GCI being 500,000? Or that's how much you keep in your pocket at the end of the year, right? So we've got to get really crystal clear on that. So I'm gonna come back to the whiteboard. We're gonna,
Deanna,
yes, ma'am.
According to like even to Gary Kelly, he says that as the market changes, we can't stick to the 75 or 70% conversion rate ratios anymore because it's just
Correct.
being delusional about the market. So what do you do for your team, for example?
So what we did is first of all, we went through what our real conversion rates were for last year, right? But we got crystal clear on those. They were already lower than the industry standard, apparently. And then we were like, okay, well, what would it look like if they were down by 10 or 15 more %? So we actually ran 3 different econ models. So that way we did it based off of our numbers for last year, down 10% and then down 15%, kind of across the board. So we had 3 different econ models that we could say, okay, if the worst happens, we're going with the worst econ model. We're going at 15% down. And if we make too much money, we'll be mad at them. Right? So just like you said before, we're gonna be conservative. So that's what I would recommend. I guess we will find out that method was right or not,
Yeah.
but we're gonna keep tracking. I look at our conversion rates every week. So I know like,
Which point to which point do you track? Like the very beginning to the very close, or do you track the conversion rate between the lead came into the database?
yes, so we track every KPI. So we track lead, the contact, to appointment set, to appointment held, signed, under contract, to closed. And that's when we separate them listings and buyers. So we know every percentage across the board, all the way. And so I'm like, okay, we were shooting for, our appointment set to appointment held ratio to be 65%, and we're sitting at 57. And we fix it. And we fix it fast enough. And you have to adjust it. And you have to adjust what our goals are for the next month, the next quarter, the rest of the year, right? And this is the kind of market, guys, that we are entering. So it is gonna be a numbers market. What do I mean by that? Know them, know your numbers, right? And just like the thing that said, she brought up a great point. We have to be ready to get real. Because you might say, oh, well, last year, I did $250,000 in DCI, that's awesome. And that is awesome. Count on 20 to 40% less of that. And if you want to grow your business, count on increasing your activities by the people hired. You gotta double them, possibly triple them, right? Work smarter, not harder, get intentional, and call in as many hundred people as you can. So if our net income is gonna be 40%, somebody give me a number. What would you like to have in your pocket by the end of the year?
200,000 for the ease of math.
Let's do it. 100,000. So in order to net 100,000, right? Okay, we divide that by 0.4. Right, did I do that right? Yeah. Yeah, so that's gonna give us a total GCI number. We'll go all the way down. So we've got expenses. Cost of sale. GCI. Okay. Squeaky marker, 200, okay. So you divide this 100,000 by 0.4, $100,000 divided by 0.4, right? Then you're gonna get your 100% number. And that's 250. Then all we have to do is take that 250, multiply it by 0.3. And you've got how much you need to spend in expenses, how much you need to spend on the sale. Okay, so then we go to our seller side, bulk list. Okay, and we're gonna.
Explain the difference between GCI and net income.
Oh, absolutely. So the GCI is gonna be the actual commission that's on that check account, right? So your GCI is, let's say you sell a house for $300,000, right? Whatever your commission was on that, we'll call it 2.5%. That is your GCI. Okay, your net number is gonna be that GCI number minus your expenses, minus your cost of sale, and then it's what's left. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, guys, so on the list side, I want you guys to write down under seller listings, what percentage of your business is listings compared to buyers, right? So let's say, well, last year it was pretty 50-50. Literally half of my business was listings and the other half was buyers. Cool, make it 50%. You're like, oh, I'm really more listing focused. I'd really prefer for my business to be like 60% listings and 40% buyers. That's cool too. Find out what it actually was last year. Do your best to try and work with that number, right? Now, it's one thing if you're like, well, I really was a buyer's agent last year. I want to get more focused on listings. You can adjust that goal. But I always encourage people to still be reserved. Try not to go above like a 40% increase. Okay.
What about newcomers that are not even an agent?
Then you're gonna shoot for 60-40. Be listings focused. As long as you can focus on getting the listing, the buyers show up as a result, right? Because from you doing open houses, marketing listing, those buyer leads come in. So call expireds, call FISBOs, hold open houses for other people, door knock, right? And generate as much listing income as you possibly can.
So Deanna,
Yes, ma'am.
so we changed our theme with things for 2023.
Mhm.
So would you do it, like, our numbers are gonna be completely skewed because last
Sure.
year they were different. So would you do it just based off the goals that we talked about for 2023? Or would you like be conservative with that? Like, there's a pretty big jump, but we're also changing a lot. So-
Yeah. I would
Just-
say. What we did was we decided this, all right, so I sat down with my rainmaker, right? And I basically was like, how much does the business need to make?
Yeah.
Versus what's Disneyland,
Yeah.
right? Like, what's Disney World is like $500,000 in my pocket, right? That's it. And I was like, cool, what does the business need?
Yeah.
Right? So then we got really, really clear on what our outward stated goal is. And we kind of have a leadership internal knowledge of this is what we need to survive.
They need
Right.
to count it as a break even point or need it is to break even plus a little bit.
So the way we came up with our break even point was we found out what all of our business expenses, and all that is. But then we also put into account what Tom's personal livelihood expenses are. So if he were to break even, meaning he has enough after the business, right? To pay his own mortgage, his own childcare, like school tuition, all that stuff. Go on a vacation or two, this is his break even number, right? So we kind of did a little bit of both. We were like, we absolutely still need the business to have a profit. Otherwise,
Why?
Tom's gonna be like, bye, I'll go buy a Taco Bell franchise, look I'm out here, you know what I mean? It's real estate stuff. That's kind of how we came up with that. Now, for you guys, it's gonna like, every case is gonna be different, right? Because it's just determining what the win is, what's everyone comfortable with. What's everyone willing to sacrifice if it came down to it, right? We're in scary times, but it doesn't mean we cannot thrive through them, so we're not just gonna sit here and be like, it's gonna be so hard, get ready to be miserable this year. It doesn't have to be miserable, doesn't mean we're gonna have to work hard, right? And probably harder too. So if we're looking at 60% of our business is gonna be sellers, right? The next thing it's gonna ask you is what your gross income for sellers is. And you'll see here, it says A times B. This is our B. And this is our A. Okay, so all we're doing is multiplying our UCI by what percentage of seller business we want to have. And that's gonna get us, you know, $230,000 times 20. And my teachers said, know how to do math in your head, you'll never have a calculator on you at all times. Show them. Okay, so that is your GCI for sellers. Everybody with me so far? Cool. All right. You're then gonna take your average commission rate just for sellers, right? So let's say, hopefully, y'all aren't charging anything less than 3% out here. Times are tough, you know what I'm saying? 3%, okay, average commission rate, but look at what you actually did, right, like truthfully, because if the number ends up being 2.68, use that, right? If you want to be more conservative and you're like, you know what, typically I do average 2.75, but just in case I've gotten really competitive against this year, I'm gonna go 2.5, right? And if I make too much money, I can do that to myself out, you know what I mean? But shoot for free, y'all are worth it, you work hard. Okay. And these monthly expenses aren't getting any cheaper. The eggs are like $14 a pack, so. All right, 3%. We're then gonna figure out our average sold value. You'll see here, it says C divided by C. This is our C. This is our D. So we're just dividing that 150 by 0.03. Divided by 0.03. $5 million. Okay, it's just your volume, guys. You can do it. So it's a 5 mil. Okay. And is everyone clear on what volume means? If you're not, it's okay. It's 6 days.
Yeah, like total transaction.
Yes. So all the house, the actual price
This
that
is just for the selling. For that.
just for sellers. Yeah. So if you're like all 3 houses that I sold last year were $350,000, multiply 350 by 3. That's your volume. Add them all together. Then we've got our average sales price. Okay, that's gonna actually be whatever your number was last year. You're a new guy, figure out what you want that number to be, right? And figure out what it is in your market, right? And if you need help with that, I'm sure there's lots of like agents in the market center who be like, yeah, I got some help, figure it out, right? Try and find a market that you know you can saturate hyper locally, talk to your database, find out what their kind of affordability might be. And go from there. But let's say our average sales, you get to the dollar, right? $350,000. That's just per house, right? And that's gonna be our end. Right? Yeah. Alphabet, they're smart, okay. Now you might say, okay, Deanna, numbers. how do I know how many I'm actually supposed to get sold, right? Well, we're just gonna divide the E by F, guys, everybody stop panicking, it's gonna be fine, right? So we're gonna do 5 million divided by the 350. And we're at 14.2857143. Always round up. 14.1, we need 15. Does that make sense to everybody? Because there's no such thing as selling half a house. You either sell a house or you don't. So, total listings sold. 15. 15 listings sold. Then down here, they take it a next step further, which is kind of what we were talking about beforehand, those KPIs, those conversion metrics. Then you're gonna ask yourself, okay, well, of 15, how many do I need to get signed? Well, what did you do last year, right? If industry standard is like, all like 80%, about 85%, right? Take it down to 65, like make yourself conservative. 65%. Okay. So you're gonna literally take 15. Multiply by 0.65. We're at 10. I did that wrong. You're gonna divide it. I'm sorry, guys. 15 divided by 0.65. Now we're at 24. So you have to get 24 listing agreements signed just to sell 15 of them. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah, okay. And they're gonna keep taking you down, right? Down to appointments. Okay, well, let's just do the appointment number. I was gonna say that, but it's important. Let's do it. So let's say out of the 24, we'll keep it at 55. Do we do 50?
I'm gonna be down there.
No, it's all right. We call you guys real,
Yes.
right? 50%. So, I mean, we're basically just gonna double that, right? 48. And that's appointments held. So you're gonna wanna keep taking this all the way down the line and find out, right? All the way down to how many contacts do I need, how many leads do I need, yada, 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 yada. But this is gonna start to give everybody clarity on how much do I need per month, per week, per day. Right? So right now, we're looking at this number and you guys are like, you know, 48 divided by, well, 48 weeks in a year, right? Because it's 52, but we're taking out for 6 days, vacation, all that stuff. Divided by 48. What's 48 divided by 48? Jolly five, you got that money. $3,800,000. That was scary to say it like that. Yeah, one day. Yeah. And then just do everything we just did, but on the buy side too, right? So that might turn into, okay, well, I really need 2 a week, but I need 1 list and 1 buyer, right?
Can I ask you probably the same question?
Yeah.
Do you do 2 types of calculations in your team as well? The hypothetical and the actual?
Yes. Well, in terms of like hypothetical being like industry averages.
Yes, industry average or projected industry average considering the market change or the actual conversion rate and then the percentage or.
We typically, with the exception of this year, because everyone knows it's gonna be like, right? We typically use whatever our previous year was. Yeah, and so we're like, look, if you were averaging 68.7%, that's what we're gonna roll with. Right? Now if we have agents that are like, yeah, but you know, I really want to challenge myself, can you make it 65?
Yeah.
Sure, I'm never gonna make it go up. Right? So if they're like, well, yeah, I was 68.7 last year, but I really want to get to 75%. Awesome, we'll track that together. But for now, this is what you need based on the results last year for you to do that. Right? So we say he starts going, oh man, I set 7 appointments this week. I'm killing it. Cool, which held 2 and signed 0. The conversion numbers are what matters more than anything else, right? We can set all the appointments in the world, but none of them get held, or none of them get signed, or none of them turn over. Well, nothing, right? So we gotta make sure that we're tracking all of that. And that is the question.
Yeah.
Cool. So that is the economic model, guys. So once you get all the way down to the bottom here, you're gonna add everything up together, right? You know how much you have to make. You know how many buyer appointments, listed appointments you have to go on. And compare this, once it's finished, to your life by design form, make sure everything's aligned. right? You might, just like we did the basic math before, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, well, I only need to do 57 units. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. Compare your numbers, right? Make sure everything's the same across the board. That can sometimes be where it gets a little wonky, because then people are like, oh, how do I do this? And how do I do that? There's a number missing somewhere, and I'm like, I just sit down with people, figure it out, right? With our handy dandy calculators.
When you're tracking all of this, because we're changing all of our stuff,
Yeah.
for what we're tracking, how are you tracking this? Like, what systems are you using to track?
So
Are you using like QuickBooks, or do you have? like-
we personally use CTE, yeah, for number reporting, and then, so our agents have to submit their numbers in at the end of every day. We're starting to see if we can transition to our Brevity CRM, because they're building out new like metrics, measurements through there just by interacting with the database. They're like tracking it for us. But it's like super beta, super brand new, so we're not letting go of CTE anytime soon. And then we do have tax in-house who does all of our like P&L reporting.
Okay.
Now I take all those numbers and I plug them into the financial page of CTE so that I do have a snapshot of like everything in one place. So CTE is really what we're using to kind of track everything. The only thing we're not tracking in CTE is our pipelines prior to our appointment set.
Okay.
Yeah, so that everything's getting tracked with Brittany that way. Yep. All right, guys. Anybody have questions around the economic model? Congratulations, now you know you're going to production once you actually do it. Hooray! All right, guys. That was it. That was the whole thing. So what I want you guys to take away though is there's a lot of numbers to be plugged in here, right? Like I know we went through all this really fast, but the truth is it's a lot of work. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to sit down, look through your bank statements, plug everything in. You know, do the math, check the math, find an accountability partner to help you with the math, put your P&L together, track it every month. Like it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. A lot of work that we just went through in like 30 minutes. Okay. But by all means, take the time to do it because at the end of the day, this is your life, right? We guys leave this room and you never touch any of this. I'm gonna sleep okay. I'll be sad for your business, but it's not gonna hurt my feelings, right? But it will hurt your business. So know your numbers. So vitally important to know your numbers. Yeah, take the time to go through every single one of these pages. Some of the things that we skipped over just to show you guys was I have some examples of like more monthly budget things. You guys want to plug some stuff into there. It's totally up to you if it just helps you like what do I spend all my money on? Do you see it on this list? Right? Analyzing your business account. Again, this is just another version of a P&L, right? If you guys need to like a template format for it or something, you want to start building a spreadsheet or a Word document, I recommend a spreadsheet. Okay. Just put that out there. I do put my stamp of approval on that. So those are some of the things we skipped over. What you want to review every single month, minimum, right? I look at ours every day. And I meet with my rainmaker every week, much to his dismay. He's like, dude, nothing's changed. But how do you know? You haven't looked, right? You don't know that. So every month at minimum, which is why I tell everybody, have a time block in it for yourself once a week. Because if you do skip a week, at least you didn't skip a month, right? Oh man, I really ran out of time today. Now you haven't looked at your P&L for a whole quarter. Now you haven't looked at your production or your goals for the first 6 months of the year. Ooh, it's a lot harder to get back on track at that point, isn't it? Right? But we can make real-time decisions when we make this a real-time priority. So review it monthly, time block for it every week. It's just my suggestion, right? Know your P&L details, know what you're spending money on. Have you taken the time to separate your accounts, your personal checking versus a business checking account, right? Even if you don't go like formal business checking right away, it still benefits you to have two separate accounts, right? Just makes tracking everything so much easier at the end of the year. And cronk, we love cronking. If you guys haven't done it already, do it now. It means keep, reduce, offset, negotiate, or cut. So in other words, go through your expenses. What do I absolutely need? Healthcare? Yeah. Yeah, keep that, right? Is there an opportunity to reduce it? Right? Okay, I'm paying like $275 in car insurance. Who do I know that maybe I can get 250 instead for the same coverage, right? Same benefits. What can I offset? What can I swap out, right? Maybe I'm paying for Instacart. Maybe I should just go to the grocery store, avoid that, right? Okay. What can I negotiate? Hey, what are you willing to do for me? I did that during COVID. I called every single person that I couldn't keep, or that I couldn't cut, I should say, from my P&L, and I was like, we've been with you for however many years, loyal customers. Unfortunately, the market that we're entering in, I don't know if we can keep it that way. What are you willing to do for me? We'll give you 25% discount. Great, for how long? 2 years. Cool. Pleasure doing business with you. Bye. And not a single one of them has raised my prices yet. As long as I don't ask, I won't tell, right? Okay, nobody's asked, so I'm like, it's fine. So negotiate. You guys are in real estate, we negotiate. Don't be afraid. The worst thing they tell you is no, all right? Find another business that'll help you out. Or keep them, right? Like there's some things that we just can't avoid. Or cut. Do I really need to get my nails done once a week? Maybe you can do it every 2, right? Whatever it is, Kronk, your business and your personal, this next market is going to absolutely require it. And review your net worth. I love this one because so many people think that net worth is just for people like Oprah or our Warren Buffett or Gary Keller, but it's not, right? We should know what our net worth is as people. You'd be amazed at how much money you can generate once you actually get clear on what it is. I know people who have gone from like negative $80,000 in net worth to a positive 250 in a year, just because they started focusing on it, right? Your net worth is just how much debt do I have? How many assets do I have? How much cash do I have? It's very simple, right? Especially for us, because we don't own like 18,000 businesses all across the United States. So figure out your net worth. If any of you are interested, that's a QR code to my website. If you guys want to find out more about what individual coaching might look like for any of you, feel free to go ahead and scan that. And then I have a second QR code before everybody runs out of the room and goes, gets coffee, snacks, makes their phone calls, checks their emails, all that stuff. Which, if you guys would like a spreadsheet version with the formulas already built in of everything that we talked about today, you can download that for just $15 on my Etsy page on the next QR code. So up to you guys, but it'll take you to that link if you guys want to check it out. So really fast, what did you learn? Don't everybody go at once, please calm down.
I'm excited to take that back to like our team and get them to figure out, because we've changed so much for this year.
Yeah,
Get them to be able to figure out those numbers for themselves, because we went through all of our goals and everything too,
Sure.
but we didn't deep dive into those kind of numbers like that, so I think we need to take it back to them.
awesome. I love it. And how many agents do you have?
Right now, we only have 2.5.
Got it.
So we have one that's like part-time doing our listing management and agent too. So.
Got it. You should be fine then to just do them all in a
Yeah.
group session then. Yeah, I was gonna say like, my agents, when we do business planning like this, because we do go so in depth on every little number, they freaking hate me by the end of it.
Yeah.
But we start at 10 a.m. We usually go until like 4 or 5 p.m. Usually around like the 2:45 mark is when everyone has started taking their like nitrous hits or whatever, and everyone gets real giggly and like impatient. So I'm like, gentlemen, do we need a recess break? Everybody get their wiggles out, come back. Awesome, I love that. Ksenia, what did you learn?
I'm taking over P&L from QuickBooks,
Got it.
like as we speak.
No pressure.
And I've been on a review mode for like 6 months, but I'm
Yeah.
not really plugging in the numbers, and it's a freaking mess because our CPA used to do it according to what the tax should look like. I need to make it to fit both. And quite frankly, I didn't really never focus on like what the actual P&L should look like. I'm all about minimalism.
Yeah.
So merge categories, blend them, prioritize correctly. The tracking the conversion rates was something that it's not that I learned, but it emphasizes the focus
Right.
that we need to do it, because there's certain conversion rates that we do track.
Mhm.
There's a gap between appointment met and under contract, because we never signed about the
The agency
agreements.
agreements.
And also, actually, it's a question at the same time, we utilize things such as a pun, so it's nobody's lead.
right?
So when the agents can only have up to certain people in their pipeline, so how do you track conversion rate from like lead to conversion?
Sure.
Lead to contact.
So the first thing we did is we mostly only focus, we have leads coming in from God knows where, right? So we only focus on like our top 10 lead sources that we're tracking and spending money on, especially, right? Yeah, so find the ones that you're getting organically. Yeah, find the ones that you're paying for.
Yeah.
That's what you really want to
Yeah.
track, right? Are we getting the ROI on those or not? And so then we just like once a month, me and my director of lead generation, we come down and say, okay, we got 2,100 Facebook ad leads this month. And out of those, this is how many got contacted.
Yeah.
Or that we got in contact with. And out of those is how many got appointments
Got
set,
it.
so on and so forth. So that we can, because yes, it helps to look at it from like a macro standpoint of this is how much money we spent on Facebook ads. This is how much money closed last year. But we still want to see, because these numbers tell a story, right? If we're seeing that, yeah, we get some business off of our Facebook ads. But our ISAs are like hammering them, right? Because there's so many are coming in. But they have like a 0.01% contact rate. Is that where I want my ISA spending their time? Right? They reach out, no, I'll plan them, and if they reach out to us, work it, right? But it's like if we know that our expireds or our FSBOs have a higher answer rate, people who call in on our signs, much higher conversion rate, right? People that we meet at open houses, like that's gonna allow you, this is what we mean when we say work harder, not smarter. Or work, just keep working harder, guys. It's sweat equity always, okay? No, work smarter, not harder. Get really clear on what's working and spend your time there. That's what it's gonna require from us, really. So when everyone's like, get ready to do X amount more activities, yes. And working yourself into the ground is not gonna be the way to make you successful in this market. Knowing where to work hard is gonna be what makes you successful. Yeah. Well, good luck with that P&L. Let me know if you need my help with anything. What'd you learn?
Most of the things went over my head, but I just, like, the moral of the story is that I need to work a lot. There's a lot of things to do.
Yes,
And like right now, these numbers seem like a dream.
yes. A dream that can become a reality, right? They surely can. And that's the beautiful thing about the numbers. And this is what we coach our agents to too, is I'm like, the numbers tell a story, right? And tracking them in the beginning of your career, as opposed to trying to figure out how to track them 10 years in, you will thank yourself later. You'll be, thank you. Thank you for setting me up for success, because, you know, just like I said, maybe our ISAs are setting 20 appointments a week. But if I find out only 10 of them are being held, well, that's a story. Are we failing on our pre-qual? Are our agents not touching base to like set the appointment, right? You know what I mean? Make sure that they're serious. Are they in-person appointments? You trying to do phone calls, right? Well, now all of them got held, 90% of them got held, but only 20% of them signed. Oh, agents, it is time for some conversion training, right? We got to work on skill set. It always comes down to one of three things: mindset, skill set, or activity. Always, right? So those numbers tell you that story. Where do I need to be focusing? Okay, and if anybody is interested in any of those digital downloads, you can scan that. Like I said, all the formulas are built in. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for coming. This has been fun.
But I learned that you're a fantastic teacher.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind. You're very kind.
No, you're like, I feel like you have a lot to share, and it's been really enlightening and exciting. So thank you.
Yay, my pleasure. It is a lot, guys. Like I said, I know I blew through it pretty quickly, but if any of you ever want to schedule a Zoom call or whatever with me, just let me know. I'm always happy to help. And I love talking about numbers. Know what I'm saying? So that's,
Can you just show me one more time how to calculate the volume?
I can't. I'm just kidding. Absolutely. Yeah, how to calculate the volume from the GCI?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have, let's say you sold 3 houses, right? Your first house sold for 350. Your next house sold for 750. Look at you. Ooh, big jump there. And then your next house sold for It's just a little investor deal for 81,000, right? Even on the buy side, right, where it doesn't matter, this is just so. You would literally just add all these numbers up, and this is why I highly recommend the spreadsheet. Let them do the heavy lifting for you. Cause I'm a slow typer on my phone, I don't know about you guys, but. $350,000 plus your 750,000 plus your 81,000, you did $1.181 million in volume, right? Yeah. That's how you get that volume number. I wish it was fancier or quicker, but it's literally just all the price points that you did, I don't
No, but I'm saying like, if my GPI that I want to be 250,000,
know.
so how much volume do I need?
Oh, okay, gotcha. So what you would do there. Where's my big one? I feel like that one was a little bit more. Did I take it over there? I did. I'm stealing all your stuff. I'm stealing all your
Well,
stuff.
that's when we need to mark this.
Yes, you should have seen me a lot of them on Friday. I got like switching on it. Anyway, so what you would do. Let's say you're looking at a year in review, right? Or you're trying to plan for this year. If you know that your GCI number is 150. Right? So we got our 150. And you say, on the list side, I'm not letting anyone sign a listing agreement for less than 3%, right? You begin at 3%, right? Then you're gonna take that number and you are going to divide it by 0.03, right? Not percent, just 0.03. That is percent. So
It was in your hand.
not me today, you hear me? $150,000 divided by 0.03, that's gonna give you 5 million. That makes sense?
That's the volume I need to make that GCI like 150,000.
Yeah, so you would have to sell $5 million worth of homes. At 3%, right, at 3% in order to get a $150,000 in GCI. So again, that's not what your take home is,
Yeah.
right?
Minus the expenses and cost of sales. And
So, yep, so if you are. Hoping to net 40%, right? Then that would be $60,000. And you would net if you only sold 15 listings. The whole year. Almost 1 month. So when you really break it, this is why I love the numbers, because when you really break it down like that, you go, oh, shoot. I don't really have to sell one house a month. Make $60,000, while I'm charging 3%, and my average price point really is 350, right? Like, know all those numbers. So you know what the story tells, because none of these numbers are guaranteed, right? But knowing our numbers allows us to plan effectively. Right? So, and then when you break it down even further, you do all of these conversions, okay, well, how many do I need to sign, how many appointments do I need, so on and so forth. You're like, oh wow, that's going 1 week. Let's go, 1 appointment a week. And now you all have to sign, only half of them do. Dang, real estate,
Then you gotta figure out how much lead gen you have to
yeah,
get the appointment.
so keep going backwards, right? So, and that's, I mean, honestly, like, that's where Tim Heil started, he basically invented the ISA division, model for Keller Williams real estate. And he just started calling all day, every day, and he started tracking just that, right? Like how many dials did I make versus how many people did I talk to versus how many appointments did I set? And so then he was really able to go back and say, if I talk to, not just call, if I talk to an average of 30 people a day, I can net 2 appointments on average.
What's a good average conversion rate for an asset?
What we really shoot for, and this has been like industry, but we are reevaluating because things are changing, right? 35 contacts should net you 2 appointments set per day. Okay, now what we're seeing is that 35 contacts, our IFAs are close to netting 1 right now. Just so you know.
Yeah.
But in a normal market, this is really what you're shooting for. 2 appointments a day, 35 contacts, and then you should also know that once you guys start hiring ISAs, people to set appointments for you, the averages for, somebody converting an appointment go down versus you being the primary relationship, right?
That's why.
Yeah.
Very relevant.
So it is gonna go down, right? Like, so if you're really good at tracking all those conversions already, and you're like, yeah, man, we're crushing it, like from, contacts or whatever, it's 40%. And then from, contacts to appointment set, whatever, expect it to go down to like 10 or 15%.
I think a lot of the ones it was like 6% or like 3 to 6%. It's like very minimal from the very beginning to the very end.
Oh, yeah, it's like. For sure. That's why you want to track everything, right? Because once you start getting to that contact number, the truth is, like on my ISA too, I'm like, I don't really care about how many dials you make as long as you hit this.
So
Right.
once it is in your, is a dialogue, is a conversation, it's a two-way conversation.
Yeah, it's a meaningful real estate conversation. But if I call you and you go, F you date and hang up on me, well, it is kind of there. I mean, do whatever you guys decide to do with your team, it's fine. But we are really like, it has to be a meaningful real estate conversation. Now, even if you're like, hey, I really can't talk right now. Yes, I'm thinking about buying in the next month. Bye, cool. I'll call you back when it's convenient and we'll talk about your town. You know what I mean? So yeah, but it is gonna go down. So, because I think it's like, on average, with the primary relationship being like, you're calling your own Sphere database or whatever, is making the calls yourself. It's like a 10 to 20% conversion. And then when a non-primary calls, or like a secondary relationship, let's say you have an admin, that person knows who they are, but they're not like the main relationship. It now goes down to like 7 or 9%. And then if you have an ISA regular person who's never talked to them before, you're close to like 4 or 5. No, you know those. There's power in numbers. What else, guys? Anything else?
Were we doing, is this like a series kind of thing? Or are you coming back again?
I am coming back, but we're talking about something totally different.
That's okay.
I'm gonna do automated transaction. That's the first one that we were gonna talk about, too, but I forgot what the category was. What am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like so much for pretty animal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think we're gonna do all the ones sent to you guys, the ones, like, I know I sent it to you and.
Oh, yeah, we did like a poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then let me know if there's anything specific that you guys would want to see. And if I feel like I'm not the person for it, I'll just tell you, be like,
Not me.
How do I buy my first investment property?
Awesome, Carol.
That is something I'm gonna be working on this year. Hopefully I'll be able to coach that soon. But until then, let me know. Thank you. Let me know if there's anything that you guys would like to see. And I'd be happy to say hey or nay around that too. And if you guys would like any one-on-one sessions, I charge $15,000 an hour. No, in all seriousness, shoot me a text, shoot me a call. I'd be happy to set something up for you guys.
Well, thank you.